missing but not forgotten.
I pray to God every single day that Kyron comes through that door.
I know he's close. We just need to finish it and bring him home.
This is a K2 News special presentation, The Search for Kyron, 1 year later.
Terry?
We confront his stepmother about what happened, update where the investigation stands now, and take you back inside Kyron's school with his father, Kane.
And good evening. Thank you for being with us. I'm Steve Dunn.
And I'm Deborah Nam. Kyron Horman disappeared from Skyline School in Northwest Portland exactly 1 year ago.
He was just 7 years old, and his disappearance launched one of the biggest missing person cases in Oregon history.
The afternoon of June 4th, that's when people first started looking for Kyron.
Skyline second grader Kyron Horman did not arrive home from school today.
It is a scramble. By that time, he had been missing for hours.
Family didn't know that he wasn't at school. His teacher didn't see him, so we are feeling like we are behind the eight ball here.
By nightfall, there is no sign of Kyron. And in the days that follow, the search intensifies. Kyron had been at his school that Friday morning, attending the science fair with his stepmother, Terri Horman. She took this photo of him with his project on the red-eyed tree frog. She tells investigators she left around 8:45 alone. But at 10, Kyron's teacher marks him absent. His jacket and backpack remain in the classroom.
We're gonna bring you home, buddy. Nothing is more important to your family, your friends, and to us.
After initially staying silent, Kyron's family steps forward on a united front. We see Terri Horman consoling the boy's biological mother, Desiree Young. They all take polygraph tests, and Kane Horman says Terri is vocal to the family about failing twice. He learns from investigators Terri had tried to enlist the help of a landscaper to kill him. He moves out with their daughter Kiara. Divorce papers are filed along with a restraining order. Court documents reveal in the midst of that upheaval, Terri is sexting with Kane's high school classmate, Mike Cook. Demands for Terri's cooperation begin.
We implore Terri Horman to fully cooperate with the investigators to bring Kyron home.
Megan Coxtime was the first K2 reporter to cover the disappearance of Kyron Horman on June 4th. So, Megan, at that point, were there any red flags that would have indicated this was more than a case of a child wandering off?
Yeah, there were actually two big red flags right from the very first night there when I was up there. The first one was that big chunk of time from when Kyron was actually reported missing. Now, I remember driving up to Skyline School and talking to the Portland Public Schools representative on the way. Of course, as we know the story, he was marked absent at 10 in the morning, then didn't get off the bus in the afternoon about 3:30. And so when I was talking to them, you know, that's a good 5.5 hours of unaccounted time. So when we got on scene there at Skyline School that night, I made sure to ask the deputies, and they told me that in any missing child case, it's really the first 2 to 3 hours that are crucial in getting ahead and finding this child and bringing this kid home safely. So that was the first big issue. The second one really was the response from law enforcement out there on the scene. When we got to Skyline School, of course, the school was completely taped off. Law enforcement camped out there on the property, not letting us on. And between that 10 to 11 o'clock hour, they actually upgraded the investigation to be a major crimes team investigation. And what they told me at the time was this brings in more resources. So not only Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, but also Portland Police, Gresham Police, and also the FBI. So that was a very interesting factor that sort of made it unusual at the time, that now you're bringing the FBI in to look for a child who had been unaccounted for at this point for, you know, going on 12, 14 hours.
All right, Megan Kalkstein, thank you very much. And within this half hour, we can tell you that our On Your Side investigative team is examining several aspects of this case. Our Anna Canzano has candid interviews with Kyron's parents. Kane Horman takes her inside Skyline School and shows her what Terri claims happened the morning of June 4th.
She travels to Medford, where Desiree Young offers her strongest words yet for Terri Horman. Tom Jensen also heads south to Roseburg. What happens when he confronts Horman about her lack of cooperation with police?
But first, what's happening with the investigation? Even a year later, the sheriff says this is a very active case.
Investigator Dan Tilkin looks at some key unanswered questions and how far detectives are from solving this case.
Hi, Terry. I'm Dan Tilkin with Channel 2 News. One of the important questions for investigators, why did Terri Horman borrow the white truck from Kane the day Kyron disappeared? He says with the intention of using it to bring Kyron's science fair project home, but the project remained at school. Desiree and your husband are saying that you know where Kyron is. Do you know? And why, according to sources, did she lead Kyron's teacher to believe he had a doctor's appointment the day he disappeared when he didn't?
How close do you think investigators are to solving this?
It doesn't appear that they're close at all.
Lawyer Bruce McCain is a former captain with the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. He believes investigators lost valuable time handling the case as a search and rescue effort for several days before treating it as a crime. He says pinning Kyron's disappearance on anyone is next to impossible because there's been no trace of Kyron.
And while it's theoretically possible to prove a homicide of an adult through circumstantial evidence, it's extremely difficult to do that in a child case because they don't leave the electronic paper trail.
He's talking about phone or bank records you could show a jury that were no longer being used. The sources tell K2 there is surveillance video of Terri Horman visiting 2 different Fred Meyer stores after she left Kyron's school in search, she says, of medication for her daughter Kiara, who had an ear infection. She claims she then drove back roads trying to soothe Kiara. At 11:39 that morning, Terri Horman goes to 24-Hour Fitness, puts Kiara in daycare, and works out. By 1:21, she says she's back home, posting photos from Kyron's science fair on her Facebook page. By 1:45, Kane Horman gets home from work. He says they walked together to Kyron's bus stop, and that's when he learns, for the first time, Kyron had not been at school all day, and the trail ends.
People need to be prepared as we reach and go past the 1-year mark that the Kyron Horman case could go on for decades.
Just this week, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office announced the Kyron unit will be scaled down to a much smaller group of investigators. As of July 1st, it will transition to a more technical focus, concentrating on computer forensics. But the sheriff insists they are dedicated to resolving this case.
For the parents of Kyron Horman, milestones like 1 month or 1 year carry little meaning. The pain of Kyron's absence is felt every day, and it does not dissipate with time.
Anna Canzano returns to Skyline School with Kane Horman for his first interview inside that school since his son disappeared.
In the hallway outside what was Kyron's second-grade classroom, Kane Horman holds on to one of his son's last projects, completed just before he vanished.
Writing about Dad and Grandpa taking him to the candy store. They are so nice to let me pick out my own candy. My favorite are bubblegum, Red Hots, and lollipops.
It was here the morning of June 4th. Terri Horman says she took these photos of Kyron and his science fair project, then parted ways with him.
So her depiction of what happened is that the last time she saw him, she was down by the main office and he was here outside his classroom?
I think he was coming this way down the hall and she was turning and going the other way. I don't know if it was down the stairs out or out the side door. I can't remember which version of the story it was at the time, which changed a few times. So,
oh, it did?
But it was, yeah, going somewhere that way.
Okay, but her story changed a few times.
Yeah.
But from there, the questions linger. Where did Kyron go, and with who? Why didn't he join his class for the rest of the school day? Do you regret bringing her into Kyron's life?
Well, that's a hard answer because we don't know for sure if she's responsible or not. But based on what we believe, absolutely. Absolutely.
At the Rose Garden, one of Kyron's favorite places, Kane Horman tells me adjusting to a new normal means not trying to preserve things in the past.
How does that manifest itself when it comes to your house and his bedroom?
Yeah, it was tough for a while. We wanted to keep everything the way it was. I had the door closed for a while because I didn't want my daughter to get in there and play with things or take things out or mess things up. And I think at one point it was just that realization of, well, why is the door closed? Does it really, does it really need to be? I go into his room every day, whether the door is open or closed, but it was just that kind of symbolic, leave it open if she messes it up, so what? You can clean it up. The only conversations we've had is in a few of the dreams I've had, and they're very short-lived, and I always wake up when it feels like they just start, and it's very tough. Those are the situations where I just wish I wouldn't wake up, because he's just right there, and it's the same voice, and he's just talking to me, and, you know, Dad, I'm right here, and I wake up and I have that, you know, I know he's here, I know he's close. We just need to finish it and bring him home.
Anna also traveled to Medford to talk to Kyron's mother, and she had her strongest words yet for Terri Horman.
Desiree Young is even more vocal than Kane when it comes to her belief that Terri has something to do with Kyron's disappearance and isn't telling the truth about what happened that day.
She thinks that she's smarter than everybody, but she is wrong.
So how do you think this ends?
She's going to jail.
From her home in Medford, Desiree Young explains why she's so confident about Terri Horman's fate.
If you were to ask me that first week when I was standing up in front of the cameras, I would have said it's based on my gut. Now, it's based on all the evidence, all my gut, and the reasonable doubt is gone.
And what about those first appearances they made in the church across from Kyron's school, when she was already harboring deep suspicions about Horman?
I literally thought that God would strike her dead right there. I literally thought I was waiting for it, and I'm standing next to her and I'm gonna get hit too.
Young also reveals how she crossed paths with Terri Horman just weeks ago as she headed north on I-5 through Roseburg, where Horman is living. On this day, Horman was on a walk near the freeway.
I was driving through and I looked over and saw her hair and her butt, and I went, I recognized that person, and looked as I was driving by, and sure enough, yeah, that's Terri.
How did you restrain yourself?
I almost wrecked my car, I'll be honest. It took me by surprise. It took great restraint, and I just kept repeating, what would Tony be telling me right now? Don't ruin the case, don't ruin the case. Keep driving, don't turn around, don't turn around. So that's what I did.
Today, Young will be dedicating this corner of her yard to Kyron, the corner where he picks plums off a neighbor's tree. Like Kane, she sees her son in dreams, visions that are bittersweet.
You relate to that?
Yeah. Tony and I both have had really vivid dreams of him. Yeah. Just, you pray it's gonna come true. But yeah. Yeah, we just want him home. I'm tired of dreaming.
Still to come, the Skyline community.
It's amazing that it has been a year.
How Kyron's disappearance has impacted the people who live here, including the kids and their sense of safety.
And we go to Kyron's stepmother's hometown, Roseburg, Oregon. Terri Horman's been living here since July when she left the Portland area. We wonder what she's been up to and what the people of Roseburg have to say about Kyron's stepmother.